Okay, now we'll be starting with a new topic, and that is constructors and destructors. So, can you people tell me whatever you know about constructor till now? Each one of you can give 1 point.
It helps set a default value for any variables passed to it.
Yeah.
Or a default constructor.
Right. So it is basically used to initialize variables as default value is assigned. Anything else? Anybody else can tell any other point about constructors?
Same name as class?
Yeah, same name as class. I just hope it's not the same person who is saying all the points. Yeah, anyone else? Anything else that you know about constructor?
It is invoked when the object of the class is created.
Yeah, Nahush. So it is invoked when the object is created. That's completely right. Anybody else with anything else that you know about?
No, it doesn't have a return type.
Very good. Yeah, so it does not have a return type. Anyone else was saying something else?
I was saying the same thing.
Yeah, okay. Who is this I? Can you just call out your name? Who was this I who was saying the same thing? Quickly tell me. Siddharth.
Siddharth.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right, and in fact, you people have told the most important points about the constructor function. So we will be looking into these points now one by one. So first of all, like I'll take a very simple example. Like although you guys must have forgotten like what is catching the train, running for the train, getting the tickets and all those things. But if you go back to 1.5 years back, so there was a time when you used to catch the train. So before catching the train, what we used to do, we used to swipe the card to get the ticket. Like if you are not having the pass, if you are having the pass, then the things are really smooth. But if you're not having the pass, you might have to swipe the card. So the first thing that you need to do, swipe the card and then catch the train. That is what you need to do. But just imagine a scenario, there's someone who is helping you. There's someone who is helping you to do the initial work. Initial work means swiping the card, getting the ticket done, or getting to know which platform you have to go to. And what you have to do now, you have to just do the main part. You just have to rush and move into the train, and then train will take you to your destination. So this person who will help you to do the initial job is called as the constructor. So that is the initialization, blocking off of memory for the object, like getting your ticket done. All those things are done by your constructor. So in your C++ programming, or you can say Java programming, object-oriented programming, the role of constructor is activated when you create an object. The moment you create an object, this black man is activated and he will start allocating the space. He will start assigning or initializing the values depending upon the constructor that you have designed. So creating an object immediately invokes your constructor function. It is a special type of function. So constructor का main role basically is to initialize objects. Although inside constructor you can write anything, you can write hi, hello, you can write whole songs, movies, whatever you want to write, your messages, everything you can write. But when we are talking about the constructor functions, these are the functions which are basically used to initialize the object, or you can say the initialization of member variables for that particular object. Now, constructor is a special member function. It is a special member function whose task is to initialize the object. Next thing is, it is special. Why it is special? Because the name of the function is same as name of the class. So in the class in which the function is designed, whatever is the name of the class, same will be the name of that particular constructor function. Next point is how it is activated. So constructor is invoked whenever an object of the class is created. The moment you create the object, automatically your constructor function is invoked, or it is called, or it comes into action. So creation of object is calling the constructor function. Next thing, it is called constructor. Why it is called as constructor? Why the special name is given? Because it constructs the value of data members of that class. So it gives the initial memory, it initializes the values, so the variables comes into picture or comes into existence with this constructor function. So how that existence of variables are there? Because the constructor function has done its functionality of initialization or of allocating the memory for the data variables of that particular class or data members of that particular class. Next thing is, there is no need to write any statement to call the constructor function. As we have already discussed, it is activated or it is invoked the moment we create the object. Now, if a normal member function is defined for zero initialization, we would need to invoke this function for each of the objects separately. So you will say obviously that why do we need constructor to initialize the value? We can write a normal function and we can make initialization inside the function. But what will happen in that case? You need to use the object to call that function. But with constructor function, the moment you create the object, automatically the initialization and everything will be done. Now, how this constructor function are different from the normal member functions? We'll just see that. So a constructor function is having the name same as the class name, which is not possible for a normal function, and it does not have a return type. A constructor function cannot have any return type, not even void. So no return type. You just directly write the name of the constructor. There is nothing before that, no return type before that. A constructor is automatically called when you create the object of the class. But in case of normal member function, obviously we need to make a special call. Now, one more thing, if we are not writing the constructor function in a program, if a programmer is not mentioning a constructor function in the program, then what will happen? A default constructor function is created by the compiler and that constructor function is called. So it is not that till now if there are programs in which you have not written the constructor function, even in those programs your compiler is adding a default constructor function which is used for allocating the memory for members of that particular class. So even if you are not giving that constructor function of your own customized constructor function, a constructor function will always be called if you are writing a class based program in C++ or Java. Now a compiler generates a default constructor function for every class, but if you define your own constructor for that class, then compiler does not generate a default constructor by itself. So it's up to you whether you are writing your own constructor function or you will make the compiler to generate a default constructor function. So this is a simple example of class car. So we have a class, the name of the class is car, which will give the general specification how the car should look like, and after that your factory is there. From the factory you are creating multiple cars. So you can say these are your objects which are generated from the class car. Class car is giving the basic blueprint for the generation of this object, and your factory is your constructor which is actually generating it. So the blueprint is your class and your factory is the constructor function which actually make these objects to come into existence. Now we'll see some examples of constructor functions. So we'll see this class, the name of the class is add. Inside the class we have two variables m and n, and we have one function which is a constructor function. How did we get to know it is a constructor function? Because the name of the function is same as the name of the class and there is no return type before it, not even void, nothing is written. We directly write the name of the function. So this is a constructor function. What it is doing, it is initializing m to 0 and n to 0. Both the variables are initialized to 0 with this. Now how this function will be invoked? This function will be invoked the moment we create the object. So we have written add a. So A is the object. The moment we write this line, automatically this function will be called and it will be activated and it will be executed. So these functions are called the moment we create the objects of the class. Now what are the characteristics of constructor function? First thing is they should be declared in the public section. Whenever you are writing the constructor function, write it in public section. Don't write it in private or protected. Otherwise you will not be able to call it from the main function, that is from outside the class. Next is they are invoked automatically when the objects are created. Next is we do not have a return type, not even void, and they cannot return values. Next is the constructors cannot be inherited. It's not that a class is inheriting the base class, so the constructor of the base class will not be inherited. So they cannot be inherited, though a derived class can call the base class constructor. So it is possible that from the base class you call the derived class constructor as it is in the public section, but it will not be inherited. It will not be a part of your derived class. Next is constructor functions cannot be made virtual. You cannot make a constructor function as virtual. Okay, now there are three types of constructors basically: default constructor, parameterized constructors, and copy constructor. So I think you must all have implemented default and the parameterized one. So there is one third one, that is copy constructor, which we will see today, and we will see the default and parameterized as well. So what is a default constructor? A default constructor is one which is not taking any argument as input. It does not take any argument as input. So this is one example of default constructor. The name of the class is construct. The name of the constructor is construct. No input to it. Empty brackets. So no input, that means it is a default constructor. That is, it is not expecting any input or parameters to be passed to it. Next, what it is doing, initializing A to 10, B to 20. So your default constructor is also used to initialize only. The only thing is it will not be taking any input. Now in the main function, how this constructor will be called? We will simply write construct C. So we have created an object C of the class construct. The moment we created this object, this function will be called. And now later if we will print the value of C.A and C.B, what will be printed? 10 and 20. So we have created this object C. So C.A will be initialized to 10, C.B will be initialized to 20. And so these values will be printed. So this is your default constructor. Now we'll see parameterized constructor. It simply means the one that need parameters as input, to which we need to pass parameters. So it may be necessary to initialize the various data elements of different objects with different values when they are created. So we can take a simple example here. The simple example would be if we are checking the height of students of your class. So what it's possible that Pranav is of height 5'10", maybe Dipesh is of 5'8", Madhur could be 6 feet. After that, Ketan could be maybe 5'9" or something. So what will happen? We need to initialize your heights in terms of feet and inches. So we cannot give a default value of feet and inches to each student. So we cannot say if Pranav is 5'10", we'll make all the boys of the class as 5'10". That's not possible. So what we need to do, while creating the object of that particular student, we will pass the values as input, and accordingly the value of feet and inches will be initialized differently for different students. So in that time we use parameterized constructors. So this is achieved by passing the arguments to the constructor function while we are creating the object. So when we are creating the object, that time only we will pass the values. The constructors can take argument are called as parameterized constructors. So this is a simple example of parameterized constructor. We have a class add. Inside the class add, we have an add constructor which is expecting 2 integers as input. So in the bracket we are giving 2 in, that means 2 integers are expected as the input to this particular constructor. Now we are writing the definition outside the class. We are writing the definition of the add constructor. So that's why we have written name of the class, scope operator, and after that name of the function. So what is the definition? That m should be initialized to x and n should be initialized to y. Now we'll come to the main part where we are creating the object. So in this scenario, there are two ways of creating the object. First one is explicit calling of constructor and the next one is implicit. So first we will see the explicit one. So what we will do in explicit calling, guys, as I've told you already, I write these paragraphs so that you can refer this in future when you are accessing the PPTs. So right now I'm not reading out these paragraphs. This is just for your thing. Like if you don't remember the stuff, then you can just recall it by reading these paragraphs, what I've written in the PPTs. Okay, so we'll come back here. So what is explicit calling? The name of the class is add. We created an object named as sum. So sum is the object of class add and equal to add23. So this is how we have written the statement in which while calling the constructor we have passed 2 and 3 as the input. So what will happen? X ka value will be 2 here, 2 will be passed to x and 3 will be passed to y. So your m will be initialized to 2 and n will be initialized to 3. So this is what is going to happen with the explicit call. We created the object and while creating the object we pass the values 2 and 3. Now the next one is implicit and the simpler one which we generally use, and I think this is the one which you must have used in your labs as well. So how do we write it? Name of the class, name of the objects, in the brackets we are passing the parameters. So this is what we are doing, that we are writing the name of the class add, sum is the object name, and 2 and 3. So this is the second one, is the shortcut method and which we generally use while coding. So for the parameterized constructor, you can call the constructor in either of the two ways, that is explicit or implicit. Okay guys, I just hope it is clear to you till now. You can quickly show me a thumbs up. Yeah guys, is this clear, or you want me to slow down, or anything you want to get repeated? Okay, I can see many thumbs up coming. So I just hope things are getting clear to you. Okay, thank you. Fine. So we'll come to the next thing, that is constructor overloading, that is declaring multiple constructors in the same function, and the call or activation of the constructor is done. How? That we are going to see now. So C++ and Java permits to use more than one constructor in a single class. For example, this is your one constructor add, another parameterized constructor. So in the same class we can have these two constructors. One is default, one is the parameterized constructor. So we'll take an example on this. So this is your class add. Inside add class you have one default constructor, you have one parameterized constructor, and you have a third, that is copy constructor. So we will see what is copy constructor. Okay, so first we will see how to make call for the first two constructor, that is the red one and the blue one. So the first constructor is not expecting any input or arguments, the second one is expecting two integer arguments, and the third one is expecting an object of class add. How do we know it is an object of class add? Because we have written add and after that we have written variable name. This is your ampersand. So ampersand, that means we are passing the address of object. So the third constructor is expecting an object as input, object of the same class, that is add class only. So what is the significance of this? That we will see in the later slide. So when the calls are made, so this is how we are going to call the first constructor add a1. Add a1, no arguments passed, that means the first constructor will be called. Next is add a2, in the bracket we are passing 10 and 20. So what will happen? This second constructor will be called. So this is, again we know these are the two simple things, and now we'll come to the third one. So the third one is the copy constructor, and what does it expect? It expects the object of the class add as input. So like for your height example, I must say, suppose Pranav and Ronit, they both have the same height. So what we will do, we will initialize the height of Pranav as 5'10". After that, for Ronit, we will simply copy Pranav's height. So we are not going to reinitialize the height for Ronit. What we will do, we'll pass the object of Pranav to the object of Ronit using the copy constructor, because they both have exactly same values for feet and inches. So this is where your copy constructors comes into picture. So how do we make the call? A3, we are creating the object for Ronit and we are passing the object of Pranav. So while creating A3, the input that we are giving is A2, and because of this, the copy will occur. And how do we copy the things? M, that is M of A3 will equal to I dot M. I dot M means A2 ka M. So this M is going to be the M of A3, the new object that we are creating, and this M is the M of the input that we have given. So that is M of A2. So with this, what will happen? M of A3 will have the same value as M of A2. N of A3 will have the same value as N of A2. So the copying will occur with the copy constructor. So this would invoke the third constructor which copies the value of A2 into A3. This type of constructor is called as copy constructor. Now constructor overloading, you all know what is constructor overloading. That is, more than one constructor function is defined in a class. So guys, this is again one more way in which you can activate copy constructor, that you created an object T of class test. After that, while creating T1, you are passing T. So this is we have seen in the previous example also. And there is another way which says, while creating T2, you say test T2 equal to T1. So this is again how you can call the copy constructor. That is, while creating one object, you are saying T2 equals to T1. So T1 is another object of the same class. So this is how you can call your copy constructor. Okay, and now this copy constructor is there in C++, but it is not there in Java. So default copy constructor is not there in Java. It is there only in C++. So when you must have implemented constructor in Java, I think you must have implemented this default and parameterized constructors only. So this was the reason for that. Okay, so we are done with constructors. Now we'll come to the small topic and the last topic which will be covered in your first test, that is destructors. So as the name says, what constructor will be doing? It will be giving memory. It will be like making the members to come into existence by allocation of memory. What destructor will do? Destructor will destroy them, and destructor will release the memory. Destructor will erase their existence. How will it erase the existence? By deleting the memory, or you can say by releasing the memory. The memory will be released and the object will be deleted, and it will no more be occupying the space on your machine. That is the task of destructor. So a destructor is used to destroy the object that has been created by a constructor. Like constructor, a destructor is a member function whose name is same as name of the class. So again, with the destructor also, the name of the function is same as name of the class. But how is it different from constructor? That before the name there will be a tilde sign. So this sign will tell whether a function is constructor function or destructor function. We'll see how the sign is. So this is the destructor of class integer. Name same as class name, and before the name there is a tilde sign. So while writing a destructor, you have to write the name of the class and a tilde sign should be there. Now the next thing is, destructor cannot have any input. Constructors do have parameters as input, and destructors can never have a input. Because what is the aim of destructor? Aim of the destructor is to destroy things or to release memory. If you are giving input, that means you are expecting it to do more work, and which might be requiring initializing value, allocating memory, and all those. So destructor is not required to take a input from the user. That's why these brackets will always be blank for a destructor function. So when you create the object, what happens? A memory allocation or a memory is allocated, and the pointer of the object points to that memory. So what destructor does? It destroys this pointer. So the connection is destroyed from the memory, object pointer is destroyed, and this memory is released. This is what your destructor does. That is, it destroys the pointer and it releases the memory. So when a program is over, that time object should be destroyed, and this destroying of object or releasing of memory is done using destructor, and we need destructors to free memory allocated for object. Now we'll see a simple example. This is your class add. We are having m and n variables. So this is your constructor function. How do we know it is a constructor function? Name of the function is same as name of the class. Now we have destructor function. So destructor function, again the name of the function is same as name of the class, but this sign will tell us that this is a destructor function. There is no sign here, that means it is a normal constructor function, but this tilde sign will tell it is a destructor function. Now a destructor function never takes any argument, nor does it return any value. So destructor may no input, no returning of values, and when it is invoked, so it will be invoked explicitly by the compiler upon exit from the program. That is, when the program is ending, then your object memory should be released. So that time it is called when there is exit from the program or from block or function, as the case may be, to clean up storage that is no longer accessible or no longer in use. So that is the role of your destructor. It releases the memory which is no longer being used by your programmer. So this is one more simple example. So in this example, we have a class circle. Inside circle, we have this function. This is constructor function, and this is your destructor function. How do we know this destructor? Is this tilde sign. So we can say that it is a good practice to declare destructors in a program, since it releases the memory space for further use. So whenever we are using a new function to allocate memory, we should use a delete function also to release a memory. So if you are using constructor to allocate or to reserve memory, then it is always advisable to use destructors to release that memory once the use of memory is over. So guys, with this we will